All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Joint Standing Committee for the Environment and Natural Resources. I'm Stacy Brenner. Today is May 14th. It's a Friday. We are gathered today for some language review and some work sessions. We're going to go in this order. We're going to have a language review for 8:05, and then a work sessions will go in this order: 1595, 1415, 1545, 1567, 1572, and 1635. And then I think we have a reconsideration for 1498 at the end. So we'll put that in the chat for everyone. And we are gathered on Zoom, so our meeting is electronic. It's streamed on YouTube. We will at times move folks from the attendee space into the participant space to join us for conversation. And you might feel like you're disappearing before you arrive, but if you just be patient for a second, it takes a minute to come through the portal into the panelist space, which is where we are. The other note is if you're off screen, you don't show up in the YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, just know that lots of times, many of us are here listening, but we've turned our screen off for a second, but we are often here. And with that, let's go ahead and start some introductions. Representative Bell.
Good morning, Art Bell. I represent House District 47, which is Yarmouth, Chesapeake, and Long Island.
Representative Ziegler.
Good morning. My internet is not great this morning, so I hope you can hear me. Well, I'm Paige Ziegler. I represent the district of 7 towns: Belmont, Liberty, Lincolnville, Montville, Morrill, Palermo, and Searsmont, which is District 96 in Waldo County.
Representative O'Connor.
Good morning, I'm Beth O'Connor. I represent the individuals of the House District 5, which is Berwick and part of North Berwick.
And Representative Bloom.
Good morning, I'm Lydia Bloom. I represent the coastal portion of the beautiful town of York, especially today.
And Representative Hanley.
Thank you, Senator. Good morning. I'm Representative Jeff Hanley from Pittston. I represent District 87, which is the towns of Pittston, Alna, Wiscasset, and Randolph.
Representative O'Connor, did I already call on you and I can't remember? I did, I'm sorry. I'm trying to do 2 things at once. Senator Bennett. You're on mute, Senator.
Thank you. I was probably not on mute and I just muted myself. I'm Rick Bennett. I have the privilege of serving 13 towns in Cumberland and Oxford counties in the Maine Senate, including the beautiful lakes regions and the foothills of Western Maine. Thanks.
And Representative Tucker.
Good morning. Representative Tucker from Brunswick, House District 50, right on the Androscoggin River at the first dam and fish ladder, where I've noticed that the heron are starting to gather because the fish are coming up to the dam. And you never know whether you're going to see 2 or 3 heron just below the dam. Thank you.
And Representative Tucker is the House co-chair for the committee. And as I mentioned, I'm Stacy Brenner. I represent Senate District 30, which includes Pine Point Beach. And the plovers are nesting. And we also are joined by Deirdre Snyder and Dan Tartikoff from OPLA, and Sabrina Carey, who's our clerk. And we're always grateful for their support and service. And with that, Dan, I'm going to pass it over to you for a language review for 8:05.
Sure, and I'm actually coming to you today from the office, and I just had a reminder of, for those of you who served on the committee before, how our committee room backs onto where the dumpsters are. And when the dumpster trucks would come in and very loudly empty them during committee meetings. So a nice reminder of how things used to be.
interrupt for one moment. Is this 802 or 805?
Yes, it's actually
805.
802.
802. Sorry
802,
about
yes.
that.
Yeah.
I'm going to change that on
So,
my note.
I'm going to share my screen here because it may be easier. So this was an act to ensure the decommissioning of solar energy developments. This was a DEP bill. There was a unanimous committee amendment that contained a number of slight changes to a number of portions of the bill. Most of them were clarifications. In working with DEP on the language for this, we realized that it became quite cumbersome and somewhat redundant to, in other areas of the bill, describing decommissioning to describe the removal depth, both generally speaking and the additional removal depth for decommissioning on farmland. And so a decision was made to move all of those provisions into the definition of decommissioning here. So it looks a little different from the definition of decommissioning in the bill, but it's substantively the same. And what it provides for is that removal to a depth of 24 inches or bedrock, whichever is less. And then it also notes that for any portion that's on farmland, that removal is to 48 inches or the depth of bedrock, whichever is less. And it also notes the grading to post-construction grade and the inclusion of fences, which was part of the committee amendment. And what that allowed in the rest of the bill was to simply just refer to decommissioning, since the definition of decommissioning now includes those provisions. So the revisor's office decided to just strike and replace this new 3494, but the only changes are to that decommissioning provision there. It doesn't talk about depth anymore there. That's taken care of in the definition. The change here to that reads as update is that change to only require the financial assurance in the plan to be updated to be updated 15 years after its initial approval, and then every 5 years thereafter. In the original bill, it was every 5 years. And then finally, there is language here regarding administration and enforcement and rulemaking authority to both DEP and the Land Use Planning Commission. I believe this is consistent with the language that Nick had provided, or that I guess someone provided in an amendment. It's been so long ago. So there is a fiscal note. No appropriations or allocations are required, but there is minor cost increases noted to the general fund and other special revenue funds, as well as a minor revenue increase to other special revenue funds. The fiscal note describes that any additional cost to DEP or the Land Use Planning Commission as a result of rules are anticipated to be minor, but that there also are provisions allowing fees to be established that will result in other special revenue fund increases. I can answer any questions anyone has about that.
Any folks have questions about language review? All right, thank you, Dan. Appreciate that. And now we will open up a work session for LD 1595, which is an act to address waste associated with solar energy equipment.
Sure, and would you want me to go through an analysis? Sure.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
So this is Representative O'Connor's bill. It provides for the stewardship of solar panel waste in a number of ways, which I suppose I will touch on. It amends the Maine Solar Energy Act to provide for the prevention or minimization of the potential damage from solar panel deterioration and for a tracking system for solar panels. It provides that property with solar panels must be insured to pay the full cost of recycling the solar panels damaged in any form of catastrophe, and that these insurance costs be paid first from any distributions of insurance proceeds. It provides for state grant funding for the development of a recycling process that recycles 95% of solar panels and the design and construction of recycling equipment and a recycling facility using funds from the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative Trust Fund, and if needed, funds from the Maine Solid Waste Management Fund, the Maine Solid Waste Diversion Grant Program, and the Maine Technology Institute. It provides for penalties for improper disposal of solar energy equipment, for failure to register solar energy equipment, and for refusal to permit inspection of solar energy equipment. It replaces the term solar energy device with the term solar energy equipment, which is defined under the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 10, Section 1492, subsection 1. It corrects cross-references in the provision of law allowing the Commissioner of Administrative and Financial Services to establish an Energy Infrastructure Benefits Fund. It amends the Energy Conservation in Buildings Act provision regarding life cycle costs to provide the Department of Administrative and Financial Services Bureau of General Services rules include costs of recycling in determining the effect of insulation incorporated into a facility design and the effect on solar utilization to the properties of external services and the cost effectiveness of integrating wind or solar electricity generating equipment into the design and construction of a facility. I've listed for you the proponents, opponents, and those testifying either for or against the bill. The first note I will add is about fee concerns. The bill in Section 12 imposes a combined $125 in fees per solar panel at the time of purchase to fund the administrative and recycling costs of that panel. Multiple bill opponents suggested that this fee would dramatically increase the cost of both residential and commercial solar projects. The Governor's Energy Office in particular estimated that the fees could in some instances nearly double the cost of a solar panel. Some speakers suggested that this fee increase could effectively kill the solar industry in Maine. Bill proponents suggested that the fee is in line with other state programs. The state of Washington was cited, and that the fee is a realistic estimate of the cost of fully recycling a solar panel, including the proper disposal of certain harmful chemicals contained within the panel. The DEP commented that the stewardship program proposed in the bill for solar panels is unclear, resource intensive, and unnecessarily complex. DEP noted that solar panel recycling or end-of-life issues have been identified in a number of past product stewardship reports as a potential candidate for a stewardship program pursuant to Maine's Product Stewardship Framework Law. DEP stated that it will continue to evaluate approaches to incentivize recycling of solar panels and may recommend legislation in the future on this subject. The Governor's Energy Office noted that the bill proposes in Section 14 to create a solar panel recycling program and to construct a solar panel recycling facility and to fund those activities using funds acquired through the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, or RGGI, which it suggests is not the typical use of those funds. I've provided for you here some language from the RGGI Trust Fund statute, which notes that RGGI funds must be allocated for measures, investments, loans, technical assistance, and arrangements that reduce electricity consumption, increase energy efficiency, or reduce greenhouse gas emissions and lower energy costs at commercial or industrial facilities, and for investment in measures that lower residential heating energy demand and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Multiple bill opponents suggested that while this issue will need to be dealt with at some point in the future and is currently under discussion within the industry, it is likely premature at this time, given that solar panels have an average lifespan of 25 or more years, and that 95% of solar panels installed in the US have been installed since 2012. In other words, it may be decades before Maine will have to grapple with large amounts of panels requiring end-of-life care. The Product Stewardship Institute recommended Product Stewardship Institute testified in opposition. They recommended that if there is interest in addressing the end-of-life issues with solar panels, the state should consider adopting a true EPR model where the solar panel manufacturer and not the consumer is responsible for implementing and funding a system to recycle solar panels. We don't have any information, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about the analysis or the bill.
Any questions from the committee? Yes, Representative Tucker. You're muted, Representative.
To get the discussion going, and not to cut off the discussion, but to enable it, I move ought not to pass on LD 1595.
Second.
Did you want to speak to your motion, Representative?
No, no, I like to hear what everybody else has to say.
Any discussion? Yes, Representative Bloom.
Thank you, Senator Brenner. I think that this, the idea that the solar industry is discussing this issue and that we are considering in extended producer responsibility, I do believe that that there is reason to wait and to see what the solar industry comes up with. I think the responsibility should be on the manufacturer. I think it provides incentives for them to produce a solar panel that does not have a lot of waste in it or that can be recycled. So I'm going to be supporting the motion.
Representative O'Connor.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank Dan for the analysis. It was very good. It was exactly what I intended. And so I will be in opposition to the motion because I think that I just want to keep having this conversation. Even I know what the trajectory of this bill is. However, I think it's an important conversation and I think it will bring more of the conversation to the table. Thank you.
Any additional comments from the committee? Yes, Senator Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Muted, Senator.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I think this is a really good initiative. I am a little concerned that the fees, we didn't hear sufficient testimony on the level of fees involved, and that it seems that they may be on the high side. But I do support the idea of making sure we capture the costs in the front end. And I would also say that I'm deeply suspicious of the solar panel manufacturers and allowing them to take the lead on determining what their costs might be. And a proper EPR program really ought to put the consumers first. And I see that somebody, some people testifying said that we should do that, but I don't see any evidence that we're doing that. But maybe we could add that to some other legislation at some point. Thank you.
Representative Hanley.
Yes, thank you, Senator. Yeah, I'm going to be opposed to the pending motion. And the reason is I think that this industry needs to have this discussion, the pressure needs to be put on. These panels will sooner or later be an issue of cleanup and the cost being shifted. And for us to ignore it now, we're dealing with other chemicals right now that were 20 or 30 years ago told we were safe to use. And to ignore this one, to ignore this contamination issue is to whistle past the graveyard. But that's my feelings on this. Thank you, Senator. That's all.
So I just want to point out that we just ran through language review for what I think is a pretty good first step for us in terms of decommissioning solar panels and recycling them. And I remember in that discussion that we were really careful not to burden residential or small solar development projects. And I feel like this bill, although I am appreciative of the intent, I'm not sure it quite gets to the goal of what we had discussed when we discussed that bill, which is supporting small residential and small solar projects. So I think that extended producer responsibility for the end life of solar panels is crucial. I'm just not sure this is the right vehicle. And I hope that we revisit the issue again next session. So that's where I'm at with this bill, and I will be supporting the motion. Any other discussion? All right, well, let's go ahead and have a vote.
Okay. LD 1595, motion is ought not to pass. Senator Brenner.
Yes.
Representative Tucker.
Yes.
Senator Bennett.
Yes.
Representative Hanley,
No.
Senator Carney, absent. Representative Bell,
Yes.
Representative Bloom,
Yes.
Representative Dudera, absent. Representative Gramlich, absent. Representative Johansson, absent. Representative O'Connor,
No.
Madam Chair.
Representative Toole,
Yes. Yes.
Me,
Yes, Senator
Madam
Bennett.
Chair.
Are we stopping the
Oh,
vote?
thank you. I just wait.
What's-
I'm going to change. I just wanted to record my vote as no.
should I continue?
Yes,
Okay.
Sabrina, please do.
Okay. Representative Toole, absent. Representative Ziegler,
Yes.
5 yes, 3 noes, 5 absent.
And the minority report? Senator Bennett? Your hand's up.
Yeah, I wasn't going to speak to that. I just wanted to apologize. I thought that the end of the roll had been reached, and I apologize.
Okay. Is there a minority report?
It's just ought to pass, and it'd probably have to be amendment as amended because it is going to have a fiscal note on it.
All right. I'm going to lower your hand. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And with that, I think we say goodbye to Dan now. You're off to other things, or are you here with us the rest of the morning?
I'm going to turn off my video, but it's Deirdre's turn.
Great. Thanks so much. Hi, Deirdre.
Hi.
On to 1415.
Yes. So we did have a work session on this already. I'm not sure if you want me to go into anything from that prior work session or just go right to your amendment.
Right to the amendment, I think will be great. Just as a refresher for everyone, this was Senator Breen's bill, and I asked if we could turn it into a resolve. It's about getting a little bit more detailed information about what the DEP needs in terms of funding in order to speed up some of the site law review for developers.
Do you want me to share that amendment really quickly, even though I sent it out, and just go over it quick? Okay.
That'd be great. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. So I did distribute this yesterday to both the committee members and interested parties. And like Senator Brenner said, it changes the bill into a resolve. So it strikes everything from the existing bill. And basically it directs the department to determine the amount of staffing that would be necessary to effectively and efficiently review new permit applications under the stormwater, site law, and NERPA. And also to issue decisions on amendment and minor revision applications in the same time frame that's established for new applications in law. And secondly, it requires that the DEP report back to the committee by November 1st of 2021. And then during the second session, you can review it and have the ability to report out a bill based on the report you received from the DEP.
Great. Thank you. And I suspect that on Monday, when we review the supplemental budget with the department, that there might be more information about this in that plan, but we'll see. Any conversation? Yes, Representative O'Connor.
I want to say thank you, Senator. I actually like that amendment. I think it's good.
Sure. All right. Do we need to vote on it? No motion? Yes, Representative O'Connor.
Thank you, Senator. I would vote ought to pass as amended.
Thank you. Second? Representative Bloom. I think we're ready for a vote.
Okay. Senator Brenner,
Yes.
Representative Tucker,
Yes.
Senator Bennett,
Yes.
Representative Hanley,
Yes.
Senator Carney, absent. Representative Bell,
Yes.
Representative Bloom,
Yes.
Representative Dudera, absent. Representative Gramlich, absent. Representative Johansson, absent. Representative O'Connor,
Yes.
Representative Toole, absent. Representative Ziegler.
Yes.
Eight yes, 5 absent.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, and with that, we're on to LD 1545, which is, for a reminder for everyone, this is an act regarding greenhouse gas emissions and reductions associated with significant development projects. The sponsor of this bill has asked if we could table it for a little longer so she can do a little more work on it. So that is the intent, I believe, for this morning, but perhaps we can have some discussion. I had thought that it might not be worth having Deirdre run through a full bill analysis if there are amendments coming. Any thoughts from the committee? Yes, Representative Ziegler.
I move to table.
Is there a second? Show of hands. All right, that's a unanimous ought to table. Is that a phrase? Ought to table? Probably not. Sorry, just made that one up. Okay.
It should be. It should be.
It should be. Okay, and next up is LD 1567, an act to equitably fund Maine's climate change mitigation efforts. Both Representative Tucker and I have spoken with the sponsor and feel strongly that the direction this should go in at this point is ought not to pass. Not that it's not a good idea, but it's maybe just not quite ready. So I had also asked Deirdre to maybe hold off on this because I had a sense that this was the sentiment of the committee, but if folks feel differently, we can have her present. Yes, Representative Tucker.
I move ought not to pass on LD 1567.
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second. Senator Bennett.
I'll second.
Senator Bennett?
Thank you. Would it be possible? Yeah, yes, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Mhm.
I just wanted to ask if Deirdre could just send her analysis. She didn't have to present it, but I'd like to just glance my eyes over it as we take on this vote. Thank
Okay.
you.
Any further discussion? Are we ready for a vote? All right.
Senator Brenner,
Yes.
Representative Tucker,
Yes.
Senator Bennett,
Yes.
Representative Hanley,
Yes.
Senator Carney, absent. Representative Bell,
Yes.
Representative Bloom,
Yes.
Representative Dudera, absent. Representative Gramlich, absent. Representative Johansson, absent. Representative O'Connor,
Yes.
Representative Toole, absent. Representative Ziegler,
Yes.
8 yes, 5 absent.
All right, thank you, everyone. I can't tell if we're moving quickly because we're organized and efficient, or we just are missing people for the roll call on the votes, but either way. All right, next up is 1572. This is a resolve to analyze the impact of sea level rise from Representative Bloom. So we will have Deirdre present this one to us.
So let me just get this up here. All right, so this resolve requires the Department of Agriculture, Conservation and Forestry, the Department of Defense, Veterans and Emergency Management, Maine Emergency Management Agency, the Department of Environmental Protection, the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, the Department of Marine Resources, and the Department of Transportation to review the laws and rules they are charged with administering and submit recommendations to the Joint Standing Committee on Environment and Natural Resources by January 1st, 2022, necessary to incorporate consideration of 1 feet of relative sea level rise by 2050 and 3.9 feet by 2100 into administration of those laws and rules, and to implement the strategy designated as Strategy F3 in the 2020 Climate Action Plan. Below, I just included, we'll see when you look at the analysis, a snippet from the Climate Action Plan that talks about Strategy F3, and that strategy is to develop and implement updated land use regulations, laws, and practices by 2024 in order to enhance community resilience to flooding and other climate impacts. It also says that the rules need to be updated to consider climate hazards like sea level rise, leverage nature-based solutions, contain more consistent and scientifically sound definitions, provide more utility to communities for building climate resilience, and support development and economic activity in areas less vulnerable to climate impacts. I've included a list of those testifying in support of the bill, opponents to the bill, and those testifying neither for nor against. One person in testimony did suggest to include the Attorney General's office in the review, and Dr. Robert Marvini from DACF in his testimony said that while 3.9 feet was generated through vigorous scientific analysis, it represents the median of possible outcomes for the intermediate scenario. And for practical implementation purposes, they recommend that 4 feet be adopted for the 2100 timeframe. And this, for your just reminder, the resolve directs 3.9 feet of relative sea rise. And then just lastly, many of those testifying in favor noted that clear guidance from the state will assist communities in incorporating climate resilience consideration into comprehensive planning. And at this point, we have not received any fiscal impact determination. I can take questions if anyone has any at this time.
Deirdre, can you just say that last part about the comprehensive plan one more time, that line?
That a lot of those in favor had sort of noted that clear guidance from the state would assist communities in incorporating climate resilience considerations into their comprehensive planning.
Thank you. Any thoughts from the committee? Yes, Representative Ziegler.
I move ought to pass.
Representative Ziegler has a motion ought to pass. There's a second from Representative Tucker. I'm wondering if you guys would like to amend it to 4 feet and include the AG's office.
I would say that that's a good idea. It's so far ahead that, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Just make it easier.
Representative Ziegler.
since I put the motion and I would like to amend it as said.
Ought to pass as amended.
Yeah.
Great. Any further conversation? All right, I believe we're ready for a vote. Yes, Representative Ziegler.
I think you have to have the second approve the change. I'm not sure procedurally.
Representative Tucker gives a thumbs up. Okay, I think we're ready.
Okay. Senator Brenner,
Yes.
Representative Tucker,
Yes.
Senator Bennett,
Yes.
Representative Hanley, Representative Hanley,
No, sorry.
Senator Carney, absent. Representative Bell,
Yes.
Representative Bloom,
Yes.
Representative Dudera, absent. Representative Gramlich, absent. Representative Johansson, absent. Representative O'Connor,
No.
Representative Toole, absent. Representative Ziegler,
Yes.
6 yes, 2 no, 5 absent.
Is there a minority report?
Not to pass.
Thank you. All right. And with that, we are on to the work session for LD 1635, which is an act to make minor changes and corrections to the statutes administered by the Department of Environmental Protection by our own Representative Tucker.
So this bill makes changes to the laws administered by the Department of Environmental Protection relating to hazardous material response vehicles, underground oil storage, tank installer and inspection certification, the Maine Environmental Protection Fund, waste management fees, the Natural Resources Protection Act, waste oil, recycled paper bags and reusable plastic bags, and beverage containers. So specifically in Section 1, this section amends Title 29A to specify that the definition of hazardous material response vehicle includes vehicles used by employees of the Division of Response Services within the DEP. This would allow these vehicles that respond to oil and hazardous material incidents within the state to be equipped with certain colored emergency lights for safety reasons when responding to incidents. Section 2 amends Title 32 as it relates to underground oil storage tank installers or underground oil storage tank inspectors to allow a person who has been certified in another state under qualifications equivalent to those in Maine to obtain certification in Maine, regardless of whether or not that person is a resident of the state. Sections 3 and 19 are related to each other. So Section 3 removes the fee for a redemption center from the Maine Environmental Protection Fund and moves it to the Beverage Container Enforcement Fund under the Beverage Container Law. The fee amount is unchanged by this amendment. And I think that from the department, that was fixing sort of an error that maybe had been in statute. Section 4 repeals language to align state law with current federal law that exempts a person refiling an application for state certification of a hydropower project under Section 401 of the Federal Water Pollution Control Act from being required to pay a license or processing fee at the time the same application is refiled in order to avoid a waiver of the state certification authority. According to the DEP in their testimony, recent federal case law prohibits the historical practice of withdrawing and refiling water quality certification applications to avoid waiver of state authority. Sections 5 and 6 of the bill. Section 6 repeals language that allowed for the minor expansion within the footprint of existing impervious area of structures in a coastal sand dune system without the requirement for any permit. Section 5 still allows for the minor expansion through a permit by rule and specifies that the impervious area needed to be in existence as of January 1st, 2021. The DEP stated in their testimony that this change closes an existing loophole that allows these property owners to establish new parking areas and driveways within a coastal sand dune and then immediately expand structures to cover this new impervious area. Section 7 through 17 of the bill, as stated in DEP's testimony, the changes in section 7 through 17 are necessary for Maine to gain state authorization from the EPA to run a federally approved program for waste oil. These sections make certain adjustments and clarifications to statute to bring Maine in line with those federal requirements. The department currently has rulemaking authority for the transportation, collection, and storage of waste oil. This bill would also add treatment disposal to that authority. While the current language may allow for the regulation of the treatment and disposal of waste oil, is not entirely clear. The addition of treatment and disposal to the list of covered areas of rulemaking would clarify any ambiguity. And lastly, section 18 changes the word use to provide in relation to the requirement that a retailer charge a fee of no less than 5 cents per bag if the retailer chooses to offer a recycled bag, paper bag, or reusable bag made of plastic, recycled reusable bags at the point of sale. So at the public, only one person testified, which was the department, in favor of it, and there was one opponent who submitted testimony online, and no one testified neither for nor against. And currently, we have not received an initial impact statement on this bill. And I could take any questions if there are any at this time.
Any questions from the committee? Yes, Representative Tucker.
I move ought to pass on LD 1635.
And I'll second it. Any discussion? All right, I believe we're ready for a vote.
Okay. Senator Brenner,
Yes.
Representative Tucker,
Yes.
Senator Bennett,
Yes.
Representative Hanley,
Yes.
Senator Carney, absent, Representative Bell,
Yes.
Representative Bloom,
Yes.
Representative Dudera, absent, Representative Gramlich, absent, Representative Johansson, absent, Representative O'Connor,
Yes.
Representative Toole, absent, Representative Ziegler.
Yes.
8 yes, 5 absent.
All right, that brings us to the close of public or work sessions that we have planned. And the next thing up is 14. Yes, Representative Tucker.
Yes, Madam Senator, I would like to move that we reconsider our prior vote on LD 1498, an act to prevent increased heating fuel, natural gas, gasoline, and diesel fuel pricing in Maine by prohibiting adoption of rules limiting greenhouse gas emissions. I move that we reopen on that.
I'll second that. All right, so the intent for reopening this work session was so that Senator Bennett could record a vote with a report. Senator Bennett, did you want to speak to your concerns?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure that we had a vote on the reconsideration first.
Oh, right. Sorry about that. Okay, my bad. Let's go ahead and vote on the reconsideration.
Thank you.
Representative Bloom? Just
I thought
So
we
we
could do
do-
a show of hands. That's all.
By hand
Okay.
or by roll call?
Show of hands. Okay, so let's circle back around. Senator Bennett, would you like to speak to your amendment?
I would, and I want to thank the chairs for your courtesy in allowing me. I wasn't comfortable with either of the reports, and rather than waste the committee's time the other day, I thought maybe I'd go off and do a little homework and make sure I was grounded in my concerns and potential solution. So in the intervening period, I've learned a little bit, and I've worked with Deirdre and proposed an amendment that I'd like to support myself. The amendment is basically it'd take everything out of the bill and just focus on the question of major and substantive rules when a fee increases result from our climate change rulemaking. I think it's really important. I reflected on the testimony of the Sierra Club that supported that approach, because some of these fees have the risk of being regressive. And I just also believe that if in this important area, that having a legislative vote in this area of fee increases as it relates would really help public purpose. So I do this just so that I'm comfortable with my own vote, and I'm not really seeking to dissuade anybody else from your positions. I just wanted to do that, and I appreciated the opportunity to do so. Thank you.
Representative Tucker.
On reconsideration, I would like to make a motion ought not to pass on LD 1498.
Is there a second?
Second.
Representative Bloom. Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, we're ready for a vote.
Okay. Senator Brenner,
Yes.
Representative Tucker,
Yes.
Senator Bennett,
No.
Representative Hanley,
No.
Senator Carney, absent. Representative Bell,
Yes.
Representative Bloom,
Yes.
Representative Dudera, absent. Representative Gramlich, absent. Representative Johansson, absent. Representative O'Connor.
No.
Representative Toole, absent. Representative Ziegler.
Yes.
5 yes, 3 no, 5 absent.
Senator Bennett, is it safe to assume that your minority report is the amendment you submitted?
That would be my minority report, and I don't know if others will be going along with that, but yes, it would be ought to pass as amended.
Representative O'Connor and Hanley, Representative O'Connor?
Yes, I wanted to go along. I thought that Senator Bennett's amendment was actually good, and it took a lot of confusion out of the bill. I thought it was a good idea. I'd like to go with that.
Representative Hanley?
Yes, thank you, Senator. I'm going to be joining Senator Bennett with his amendment also with my vote.
Okay, thank you. All right. Deirdre, am I forgetting anything? That felt really quick.
It did. I appreciate it. Representative Ziegler can attest that this is very different than EUT. So that is all we have.
Working moms try to get things done efficiently. Yes, Representative Tucker.
I would just like to say that to the people who are attending, that the speed of this particular work session reflects a lot of work on the part of all of the committee members. Representative O'Connor's bill was complicated. It took a lot of time to go through it. We studied all these other bills as well. As you can see, we had a reconsideration. So although we just did the votes today, I want to assure the public and the listening public that these votes reflect a lot of thought and a lot of work by everybody. I'd also like to congratulate Representative Ziegler for increasing the sea rise level from 3.9 feet to 4 feet.
Thank you very much, Representative Tucker. I feel that I made a huge change in the world today.
Representative Hanley.
Representative Ziegler, what'd you do? Leave the garden hose on overnight or something?
Any other comments as we close for the day? All right, well, it's beautiful out. Have a great weekend, everyone, and we'll be back together on Monday for public hearings. Thank you so much.
Thank you.